Michael lived right on the coast. He prayed, and he possessed a steady belief in a higher power. But deep down, he harbored a quiet doubt. If a divine force actually existed, why didn't he ever see it tangibly intervene in his life? Over time, he concluded that true help had to be unmistakable. He expected any real intervention to bypass the mundane and arrive with undeniable grandeur. Then, local weather reports turned dire. Meteorologists tracked a massive, historic storm heading straight for the coastline, prompting immediate, mandatory evacuation orders. Most residents quickly packed their cars and fled inland. Michael simply locked his doors. He stated with absolute confidence that he trusted his creator to step in and save him from the weather. This illustrates a cognitive trap known as the expectation gap. The model shows a predetermined solution shape colliding with the incoming data stream of real-world events. When reality fails to align with the expected shape, the brain rejects the data entirely. By demanding a magical extraction, Michael successfully insulated himself from the anxiety of the impending disaster. But he also completely severed his connection to the physical reality around him, locking himself inside a psychological prison before a single drop of rain fell. As the skies opened up and heavy rain battered the town, the first practical intervention arrived. Local police officers pulled up directly to Michael's front door, instructing him to evacuate. Michael smiled, politely declined, and repeated his mantra, "God will save me." To him, ordinary civil servants standing in the rain completely lacked the profile of a divine rescue. Cognitive scientists map this behavior with inattentional blindness. This diagram shows how practical sensory inputs, like a warning, are actively blocked by a rigid cognitive filter. If an unexpected stimulus doesn't match fixed expectations, the brain edits it out. The officers standing on Michael's porch were real, and their offer of a ride out of town was highly effective. But because their uniforms were ordinary, they failed to pass through Michael's filter. When a crisis begins, we frequently bypass perfectly viable, ordinary solutions. We let the mundane answer slip by because we assume the severity of the problem entitles us to a more spectacular fix. The situation deteriorated quickly. Floodwaters spilled over the curbs, filled the streets, and forced Michael to retreat to the second floor. Soon after, a local rescue boat idled up to his window. The crew shouted that this was his absolute last chance to leave. Yet, as the physical danger intensified, Michael's stubbornness scaled up to match it. He firmly told the boat crew that his higher power was on the way, watching quietly as they motored away. The storm intensified into a deluge. The churning floodwaters rapidly engulfed the ground floor, forcing Michael to climb out a window and scramble to the absolute highest point available, his roof. With the rain whipping around him, a Coast Guard helicopter fought through the terrifying winds to hover directly overhead. The crew dropped a thick, heavy rope right in front of him, screaming over the noise for him to grab hold. The mechanics of the rescue rope required Michael to provide his own effort. This solution functioned as a physical tool, meaning Michael had to reach out, grip the line, and actively participate in his own survival to be saved. He looked at the physical rope, looked up at the sky, and yelled that he was still waiting for God. He refused to lift his arms. Battling severe winds and running low on fuel, the helicopter crew was forced to abandon the attempt. The storm raged on, and the water continued its relentless climb. Because he demanded a rescue that required zero effort on his part, Michael was eventually pulled off the roof and swept away in the current. The violent roar of the storm is suddenly replaced by absolute silence. Michael opens his eyes to find himself standing directly before the creator he had so stubbornly waited for. He is angry and deeply confused. He looks at the entity in front of him and asks the question burning in his mind. "I trusted you. Why didn't you save me?" This timeline maps Michael's experience against the rising threat, marking 3 distinct interventions: the police, the boat, and the helicopter. The creator asks, "What more were you waiting for?" Pulling back, the divine miracles category maps perfectly onto the human lifelines he actively turned away. Michael's failure highlights a harsh reality we all face. Tangible, effective assistance rarely materializes as a flawless cinematic event descending from the clouds. Real-world lifelines are aggressively mundane. They arrive as a tedious piece of advice from a friend, a local worker knocking on a door, or a heavily frayed rope requiring a terrifying leap of faith. If you want to survive the floods in your own life, you have to let go of the specific shape you expect your rescue to take. The solution you desperately need is likely already right in front of you. You just have to be willing to reach out and grab it.